Guys, there are spoilers for this film in this review. So if you don't want to end up a mutated mess of a man, go out, watch the film, and come back. You have been warned.
Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday, Sunday edition. I'm your host, Ron HD, and this week we watched The Toxic Avenger, 2025, starring Peter Dinklage and whatever. This is obviously a remake of the cult classic Toxic Avenger, and I just think that this movie was fine. It was kind of underwhelming. I feel like it tried a little too hard, didn't have the spirit of the original, and it just wasn't fun. Or at least it tried to be fun and just didn't succeed. But with that being said, before I go on a whole tangent, I'll tell you why I thought this film was whatever and more back at the house.
Who the fuck are you?
Just some dude with a mouth.
I'm screaming with fear, holding hands up to God.
Find him, bring him here.
There you are.
Only the good things in life, it's all that matters to me.
The Toxic Avenger.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday, Sunday edition. I'm your host, Ron HD, and this week we watched The Toxic Avenger 2023. It came out this year, but you get it. This film is starring Peter Dinklage as Winston at the beginning and the voice of Toxic Avenger, with Luisa Guerrero, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, as the body actor for, the person in the Toxic Avenger suit. And also appearances from Kevin Bacon as the main villain and Elijah Wood as this little, fucking Batman Returns penguin-looking character. But this movie, if you didn't know, is a remake of the 1984 cult classic, The Toxic Avenger, made by Lloyd Kaufman, part of Troma, right? Which I'm sure you've heard of Troma if you're into this, underground cinema stuff. But I think, genuinely, this was not a bad movie, to mind you. This movie was fine. It did what it set out to do, I think, but it just didn't do it as good as I would have liked. I feel like this movie was just kind of underwhelming and disappointing when it didn't feel ridiculous enough. The whole movie, I was, sitting there oh, man, okay, now it's gonna get good, and it just kind of never did. It felt like it was about to kick into next gear, and then it never did. And that was the problem. I just came out of it wishing it had been something else, and I just feel like I like the original Toxic Avenger. I watched it a couple years ago, really enjoyed it, right? I mean, it's a so bad it's good, dumb, fun superhero movie, and I think this movie should have really leaned into the ridiculousness, the stupid blood fountains and, I don't know, just more ridiculous gore and all that good shit. But they kind of didn't. I mean, they had some of it there, but as I said, it just kind of felt half-baked a little. It never kicked into next gear, I just really think. Although, I think Peter Dinklage did fine. I think all the other actors did fine. It wasn't even really a directing problem. I just think it was a weak script, I mean, there was this whole, there was, a bunch of these goons of the bad guy that were, a band that was, a hodgepodge of, all these different nu metal bands from, the late 90s and early 2000s. And one of them was, this parkour dude, and the main guy was kind of, a mixture of, Fred Durst and, ICP, which is a funny idea, right? I like that idea of one of the bad guys literally being an evil clown Fred Durst. That's funny, but they didn't do anything with it, to me at least. They didn't do that much in the movie. And, again, I liked that idea, didn't feel fully fleshed out. And that's just the thing with the movie, is that it kind of gives a good idea, and it just doesn't fully commit to it, or at least not to my liking, I suppose, if I want to be a selfish bastard. I get that why they did it, but I'll get into it later. That's the end of the movie. I think, honestly, from what I remember, this movie is quite different from the original, which is fine, right? I'm not an elitist. I'm not saying this should have been a one-for-one redoing of the original, because if that was the case, I would have just watched the original movie, right? Obviously, with a remake, you gotta change some things up to make it feel fresh, to make it feel original. I did like how they kind of, like, recreated the diner robbery or restaurant robbery from the first movie. The guys in, well, at least one of the guys, I'm like, he looks exactly like he did from the first movie, and that was cool. They kind of turned them into, like, weird anti-woke people, which is kind of funny. They were, like, going around talking about how they were basically saying, this restaurant is woke. It was Mr. Meat, it's now Miss Meat. They're shoving their agendas down our throat, is basically what, it was like making fun of anti-woke people, which is kind of funny, right? But again, only kind of funny, right? And then, they die after Toxie kills them, and then the movie kind of, so, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I just didn't really care about the characters that much, you know? Like, I think the side plots with, Toxie's kid, where he was like, I don't really even know what kind of character he was. He was like, kind of like a character that needs saving, right? That was kind of his only character trait. He liked dancing, I think. That was like his only character trait. Because he did like a weird, like, performance at like a talent show, I assume it was. Where he like walked, he like paced back and forth on stage. But people didn't like it. But then he did like a weird dance at the end where he did magic and he looked like a reject from Clockwork Orange, like a fucking rejected character from that. And I don't know, I just feel like the movie thought it was funnier or like more ridiculous than it actually was, I feel. So, I think in general, I think the movie just had like weak character writing, because I think there was also this whistleblower lady that was like trying to bring down the evil pharmaceutical company that was like poisoning people with snake oil and shit, and she didn't really, I don't really know what her character trait was, in all honesty. Yeah, I don't really know what her character was. I think that's the thing. Like, a lot of the characters just didn't feel defined to me. It's kind of funny. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say, we watched a movie, earlier in the month, or on another Tuesday, we watched a movie that had great character writing but a weak story, and now this movie has good story ideas but weak characters. It's the switch. Anyway, I don't know. I just genuinely feel like I don't feel anything when watching this movie. Like, I didn't feel hatred. I didn't feel joy. I just kind of felt indifferent. And I guess that's not feeling anything, though. Indifference is nothing, basically. Like, I'm like, I don't feel any strong way one way or the other. I don't have any strong opinion one way or the other. And I think that's unfortunate, because I wanted to like this movie. Like, I went into it like, oh man, Toxic Avenger, been waiting like how many fucking years for this thing, and then it comes out and it's just blah. I don't know if this is a big deal, but I didn't really like the fact that, like, the Kevin Bacon villain turned into, like, a weird wolf monster at the end. I don't know. It just, like, I get that, like, the final battle between the villain and the hero, he kind of had to be, or else he would just get annihilated in 2 seconds. It's just another example of, he has the powers like the Toxic Avenger, but he's a mean guy. He's a bad guy, right? That's his deal. And also, there was like this British lady who, I'm not even, was she like his assistant, significant other? I don't remember. She turned into like a banshee looking. She, like, obviously, like, Toxie turned into a fucking bubbly green mutant, but Kevin Bacon turned into a werewolf, and the girl just, like, turned into, like, a ghost, like a ghoul. Like, she didn't even really change physically that much. You know, it was just weird. Maybe she's modest in nature, so, like, her mutation was modest. I don't know. Either way, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but I feel like overall, while I did not hate the movie, I did not love it, and I just think it was kind of meh, and overall, I wouldn't recommend it. You know, if you're a fan of Toxic Avenger, but I feel like maybe you should give it a shot. Maybe you will like it more than I did, and I'm just being a grump bones over here. Maybe you would like it. So I think it's just a matter of, if you think you like it, maybe give it a chance. But if what I've said so far hasn't convinced you, or whatever, maybe don't go see it, but I guess it's up to you. But with that being said, I think I would rate this movie 6 out of 10. And, yeah, thank you have something to say. Thank you for something peace. So, guys, hope you like this video. Share with friends, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say is, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike the game in the comments. And I've been Run HD, off to save Tromaville. So, while I was watching this movie, I was watching it, and the whole time, like, I didn't laugh once. I was just staring at the movie, like, they're gonna say something funny, right? And there was something, like, maybe mildly amusing they would say, like, once or twice. But the whole movie, I was just kind of staring at it, like, come on, this is Toxic Avenger, you gotta have something funny. But no, I was not amused, I guess is a good way. It didn't amuse me. They weren't a clown. The movie wasn't a clown. It didn't amuse me. They weren't funny. Women are people of many talents. It's the truth.